Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We are back with our 122nd episode of the show. We're so glad you can join us this week because we're going to have a great show. We are going to be discussing the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian. That's right. It's going to be a fun show, so let's get everything going. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is my co-host, the man with the most, the David Modders. Brother, how you doing?
Well, you and I were just talking before we started recording. It's been a long road here with Bad Batch, Mandalorian, but we've gotten through it. We've gotten through March Reactions Madness, and we're here into April, and I'm excited to cover this one with you, this Season 3 finale of Mando, and like I said, ready to react, and like you and I have said, no matter what the series, no matter the quality, I'm always happy to be talking Star Wars with you. I love it, no matter what, buddy.
Absolutely. It's always fun to talk Star Wars and get the it's just fun. It's just fun to do. Talk with you, hang out, and shoot the breeze about things. So I do want to cover one thing too before we start our review. Of course, if y'all follow us on social media, you've seen a strange quietness on our social media compared to the rest of the year. We've been fairly quiet, and that's on me. I have been under the weather, dealing with some health things over the last 2 weeks, and it has been a struggle just making it through the day. So I apologize. Everything's been quiet. I'm trying to get better and figure out what's wrong, and that way I can get things back to normal. But we're working on it, and we haven't gone anywhere. I am going to get things back to status quo. Just bear with me and give me some grace and some time, and of course any little prayers y'all want to send up for me, I'd appreciate as well. So and we'll leave that at that. So but we got a great episode today. We're going to be talking chapter 24 of The Mandalorian. This episode was entitled The Return, which was released on April 19th of 2023, written by Jon Favreau and directed by the man whose last name I can never get right. David, take it away.
Rick Famuyiwa.
That dude. All right. Well, in chapter 24, this episode picks up right where chapter 23 ended, with Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians trying to escape from Moff Gideon's secret Mandalorian base. At the same time, we see Din Djarin battling with his two captors, who are the Imperial Beskar wearing troopers, aka what I like to call the Imperial Super Commandos. Mm-hmm. Din is struggling, but is helped by Grogu, who is driving IG-12. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Din contacts Bo, who is leading her troops to safety. Din tells Bo that he is going after Moff Gideon. At that time, TIE interceptors and bombers launched and are heading toward the Mandalorian fleet, as Axe Wolf is working on getting to the fleet first. Din calls R5-D4 for help in finding Gideon's command center. Now, R5 is able to help Din by opening each of the energy shields that we saw in the last episode, guiding him to the base. That way, he can actually take on 2 troopers at a time instead of, all 8 at once. Axe gets to the light cruiser and sends all the Mandalorians down to the surface to help Bo-Katan while using the cruiser as a decoy for the incoming TIE fighters. And once attacked, Axe steers the cruiser toward the planet's surface, targeting the secret base. Meanwhile, Din and Grogu discover Gideon's clones inside tubes. Din destroys all the clones, and he and Grogu move to find Moff Gideon himself. Bo and several commandos take a quick break before reinforcements arrive, and the Mandalorian gauntlets, and of course led by the armorer, who helps getting tongue-tied here, who with Bo-Katan lead, take charge and Carabast. Holy snikes.
There is a lot. There's a lot in this episode.
Yes. Let's try that again. Bo-Katan, with the help of the armorer and the other Mandalorians, lead the attack to take back the planet Mandalore. Bo ignites the Darksaber, and the battle begins with a ton of Gideon's Beskar armor-wearing troopers, a.k.a. Aaron likes to call Imperial Super Troopers, Super Commandos, that's it. Then Grogu finds Gideon, and he reveals that he was trying to add to his clones the only component which he did not possess, the Force. And he wanted to place it in his he wanted to place it in his clones so he'd have an unstoppable army of Gideons. Din Djarin and Gideon go at it, fighting each other until the Praetorian guards who killed Paz Vizsla show up. Grogu arrives to battle the Praetorian guards along with Din Djarin. He has used his Force abilities and training to deal with the Praetorians until Din Djarin arrives. Bo-Katan arrives to battle Gideon, while Din goes to help Grogu defeat the Praetorians. Next, we see Axe-Wolves guiding the light cruiser to crash into Gideon's base. Din and Grogu save Bo from being killed by Gideon, who has destroyed the Darksaber by, giving Bo-Katan a handshake. Still can't figure that one out. Then Din saves Grogu. Then Grogu saves Din and Bo by placing a protective shield around him, a la Kanan Jarrus. Cut to the living waters, where Ragnar finally gets to take the creed. Din Djarin adopts Grogu, who becomes Din Grogu, Mandalorian apprentice. And the armorer states Din needs to take Grogu on a journey, just like he was when he was young. The Great Forge is then reignited by Bo-Katan. Din meets with Carson Teva about doing some quote-unquote independent contractor work for him, brings Grief Karga a gift, which is, of course, IG-11, who will now be the Marshal of Navarro, and settles into a little home on Navarro with Grogu, who is Force playing with frogs. There endeth season 3. All right, now I need a break. David, why don't you kick off with your initial reactions?
That was a lot, man. You did
a mouthful.
It's a lot to get through all that. Last week and this week, it was a lot. Well, for me, look, I was blown away. Literally, I had all the feels throughout this episode. I was nervous for Din and Bo, Grogu, and the Mandalorians. I was worried for Grogu's safety when the Praetorian guards were after him. Mean Praetorian guards chasing baby Yoda. Look, even though I know for a fact Disney and Lucasfilm would never have anything happen to the merchandising phenom that he is, I was still worried. I'm like, oh my gosh, and he's in a room by himself for those 3, because we saw what they did to Paz Vizsla. I was worried about Bo and Din when they're battling Gideon. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got this super suit on and got super strong hand grip or whatever, like Aaron mentioned a minute ago. Listen, I was in awe of the battle sequences, and I fully understand why this episode was about 30 to 35 minutes. It financially, the money they spent on making it look like that, and that Imperial light cruiser coming down through the atmosphere and into Gideon's base. I mean, that's a lot of money. And so, again, I'd like a 45, 50, 60-minute season finale, but I get it. I get why it's 30 to 35 minutes. Listen, the feels. I was in tears when Grogu was holding back the flames, so Din and Bo were safe. And I was happy seeing IG-11 back as Marshal of Navarro, hearing Taika Waititi's voice. And I was very happy just seeing Din and Grogu having a place of their own, just kind of seeing Mando on the front porch there kicking back with his feet up. I thought it was a great capper to season 3, and it was a season that seemed to wander around a little bit. And Aaron and I talked about that, but ultimately I see where they were going, and I thought this really was a really a fun, exciting way to cap off season 3. So those are just some of my initial thoughts. How about you, buddy?
Well, let's go through my initial thoughts. Let me start by saying it was a good episode. It was a good episode. With that said, in my opinion, for a season finale, it felt awfully weak to me. Standing by itself, I didn't feel the urgency. I didn't feel the danger. The Beskar clothed Imperials were just being too easily beaten by Mandos who were wearing the exact same Beskar armor. We saw Mandos taking 8, 9, 10, 12 hits, and these Imperial super commandos were going down with 2 shots in the same Beskar armor. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. It was hard. I don't know. It was just a hard pill for me to swallow overall. I mean, there definitely were some good things in the episode. I mean, the plan that X-Wolves used to use the cruiser as a decoy so everybody else could escape. Good plan. I mean, the fighting was well choreographed and was well done between the Mandos and the Super Commandos. Really good. And between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan and Gideon. Awesome. Grogu, of course, was just cute as always when he was fighting the Praetorian Guards. And, of course, Grogu pulling a Kanan Jarrus with the force shield around him and Bo-Katan and Din Djarin as the cruiser crashed into the base. It did bring a tear to my eye because I miss Kanan. And, of course, the end was cute with, Din Djarin just sitting there with his feet up and Grogu sitting there with a frog floating around in the air, flipping upside down. I mean, it was cute. I mean, but, personally, my opinion, I feel this would have been better if they just combined 23 and 24 and just made it one big episode. I think that would have made it better for me. My opinion. That's just my opinion. So, all right. So obviously David and I had different experiences with the episode, which is awesome. I love that. So let's hit some of these talking points here that we got down that we want to go over real quick. Let's just kick off with Bo-Katan flying into battle with the Darksaber, taking charge of the Mandalorians, flying into battle against all of Gideon's troopers. That was just an incredible scene once the reinforcements got down there and they're flying toward the base and you got the Imperials flying out to meet them. It was just very, very, it reminded me honestly, it reminded me of some of the scenes we got from season 4 of Rebels when the battle on Mandalore is going through, or even in season 7 of the Clone Wars when Ahsoka is leading the attack on Mandalore. for the Siege of Mandalore. So some really good scenes and well choreographed fights. But what are your thoughts on Bo-Katan and her newfound confidence leading them into battle with this Darksaber?
I thought it was really cool, especially with everything you just said. Aaron and I have covered Rebels, and how much fun that was. And of course, we saw the Darksaber there. We saw the Darksaber in the Clone Wars. We've seen it here throughout The Mandalorian. I was thinking back as I was driving home. I'm like, wait a minute. Remember the end of season 1 when Gideon, his TIE fighter, goes down and he cuts his way out and we see him holding the Darksaber, and all of us longtime Star Wars fans are like, what? And what a great ending to season 1. And so it was really cool to see it come full circle here. And really, it looks like an end to the story of the Darksaber, something that Dave Filoni's been telling for a long time. I love the sound of that thing. I love how it looks. But I do like how it ended with Gideon saying, you guys are weak without your trinkets. And her response, Bo-Katan's response was, we're stronger together. And I'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about some of the overarching themes here. But I love seeing that thing. I love seeing her battle with it. I would have liked a little bit more of a battle with her with her Darksaber and him with that. What did he have? An electro staff, or what are those called, Aaron?
It's kind of pretty much what it was.
Right. When he got that thing out. Oh man, I'd like to see them go a little bit more toe to toe, smashing those two things together. But I thought it was really cool. And I do wonder, I'm sure Favreau was talking to Filoni about, hey, because Favreau's got the only writing credit on this episode. Are you okay with me crushing the the Darksaber? And I think Filoni probably was. I think. What do you think?
No, I'm sure it would not have happened if otherwise. To be honest, Dave Filoni and John Favreau have collaborated a lot through this series. So, I don't think a decision like that would have been made lightly without consulting, especially since it's something, Dave created back in Clone Wars. It's been something that's been almost a staple through Dave's storytelling, through Clone Wars, through Rebels, and so forth. So it would make sense that if they were consulted, I mean, we don't know. We may never know, but it would make sense to me if he was, because why wouldn't you?
Okay.
So, just like I'm sure they didn't, but whatever. So I'm sure they did. I have no doubt. I would have loved to have been the fly on the wall for that conversation. Hey, that sword you made, you create that lightsaber you created for my character in Clone Wars? Yeah, I want to break it.
I know, for all those years ago. Yeah.
You remember the lightsaber you made for Pre Vizsla? Yeah, I want to destroy it. If I can't have it, nobody can. I love it.
And the Razor Crest, holy crow, man!
Oh yeah, Razor Crest. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely positive they did not consult Hasbro on that.
No.
But because that, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep rolling here. We got some great stuff to talk about here. Let's talk about Grogu, man. We're seeing his force powers growing throughout the series, and of course, through the episodes as well. And it definitely sticks out in this episode too. It started off in season 1 when we see him using the force powers to heal Grief Karga, and then we see his force powers growing as he meets Ahsoka and studies with Luke during Book of Boba Fett. And now we see even more power as he is able to put up that force shield around him in Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. Sorry. Brain fart. Carabas. So we get to see his power go substantially more in such a short amount of time too. So I want to get your thoughts on it, because he is becoming quite the powerful force user. And I mean, granted, yes, he's 50, but he's a young 50.
I wish I was.
Exactly. He's a young 50. I mean, I was going to say, he's probably still in diapers, but I probably know some 50-year-olds in diapers too, but I'm not going to go there. But he's more of an infant than he is a 50-year-old adult. So that much power being wielded by such a young, I almost want to say, immature creature. What are your thoughts on his force growth and the danger that it possesses for him?
Yeah, this has been pretty fascinating, from first seeing him at the end of the first episode, where he appears in his pram and Mando Din Djarin meets him, not speaking. First season, more of the kind of little sounds here and there, to now more cooing, babbling, stuff like that. Definitely here in season 3. I really like how they had him with Luke, because then you can do stuff that you did here with him with Praetorian Guards, not just jumping, avoiding their strikes, but also using the Force to move their staffs when needed to really help himself and to help Din. And it's all believable because of, being there with Luke. And now I'm in my mind's eye going back to the conversation between Luke and Ahsoka. It's so cool to say that, Luke and Ahsoka talking to each other. And Luke is literally telling Ahsoka, I feel like it's not necessarily me training him so much, but just kind of stuff coming back to him. And so we talked about this before, and how this, of course, this is very fascinating to me as from a psychologist perspective, and that is the trauma. We saw a flashback in those training montage with Luke, and we saw a flashback here with Kelleran Bex saving him. So you wonder how much he's had training wise. And really, is he at the top of his class there at the Jedi Temple before Order 66 happens? Is he just, literally a prodigy, even stronger in the Force than others? And even in the last episode, like breaking up the fight between Paz Vizsla and Axe Wolves, not Ahsoka, but Bo-Katan's like, wow, you've really been teaching him well. And he goes, he didn't learn that from me. And so again, how much is just coming back to him from the trauma of Order 66? How much has been suppressed, and just slowly but surely his skills are coming back, memories coming back. So it'll be interesting to see, Aaron, as we go into season 4, how they're going to do that. Is it going to be more training? Is Din going to, in these adventures that the armor encourages him to go on, at the end of the episode, is he going to return and meet with Luke a bit, do some training there? Who knows? But it's just like you said, the way you said it has me fascinated with what this is going to mean as he and Din do more adventures around the galaxy. There's so much that can happen. I'm excited to see what they do with Grogu and those Force powers. How about you, my friend?
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Din deals with it going forward, because he is going to get more strong. He is going to get stronger as time goes on, and as he remembers more of his temple life as time goes on, as those memories become more unblocked and more recovered. Who knows what kind of memories we'll see. that he will learn what kind of powers he had. It's going to be really interesting to see the story behind Dinjar and dealing with that, because it's going to be very tempting. As we have seen throughout Star Wars, the lure of the dark side is quite tempting and quite powerful. Not to mention the fact they got cookies, and Grogu likes cookies.
Have the shirt on, and Grogu's coming over.
Yeah, exactly. He likes his blue macaroons. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it leads in the next season. So, or how that plays out, whether it plays out in season, if there's a season 4, or whether it plays out somehow in Ahsoka as well, because we never thought we were going to see his story play out in a Book of Boba Fett. So who knows when we'll see him next.
That is a good point. We could see them coming over for an adventure with Ahsoka.
Yeah. Who knows? Ezra may show up and train him.
Ooh.
There's someone who has dabbled with the dark side.
Yeah.
That would be some interesting training.
Man, you did. Wow. Whoa. Because I was thinking, as I was talking just a minute ago, about, Din and Grogu stopping off to do some training with Luke. And I was like, well, who else could they stop in and do some? Oh, and then you just said Ezra. I'm like, oh, yeah, he could spend time with Ezra.
Well, that's assuming he gets found.
Oh, my gosh.
It's assuming he gets found. Assuming he's not, sailing around the galaxy with a bunch of, space whales.
Purgle, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. He's his own sea shepherd in space. Oh, Lord. I'm in rare form. I apologize, y'all.
Focus, Aaron. We got to focus here. Let's stay.
Focus.
Stay on
Squirrel.
Stay on target.
Squirrel. All right. Let's take a break while I recover a little bit. Yeah. Hang on. We'll be right back. We'll be talking more Mandalorian finale. And we are back, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for sticking around with us. We're talking chapter 24 of The Mandalorian, the season 3 finale, The Return. And let's keep going, hit some of our talking points. Now, one of the big things that we got to see and that was revealed in this is we know there's a plan in place that's revealed by the Imperials through this quote-unquote Shadow Council. And it, of course, involves Thrawn coming in and involves regrouping and attacking the New Republic. And we also discover in this episode that Gideon has his own insidious plan that does not coincide with what the Imperial remnant is doing. He's got his own plan to serve his own evil purposes, i.e. his force-filled Gideon clones. So he is definitely a devious mind from more so than we already thought. So I want to pick your brain a little bit. Tell me what you think of the evilness of Gideon and your thoughts on his insidious plan.
The first thing I thought about having to say that. No, I thought this ended up being really, really cool, that he's not in lockstep with, just like you said, the rest of the Imperial remnant, the Shadow Council, and with the Emperor's plan that we see being filled in now between the end of Return of the Jedi. Happy 40th anniversary to Return of the Jedi. And what we saw in The Rise of Skywalker, right? And this issue of Palpatine trying to clone himself and all the difficulties involved. So, as you were mentioning this talking point, I was thinking back to, it would be season 2, right? Yes. and we see Pershing at Gideon's secret base on Navarro. And remember when we see the tubes there, they never really fully show us. Like, and of course I'm thinking, are they Snokes? Right? And even last week, when we see Gideon walking past those tubes, I'm looking, and then of course he goes through the red force shields to get into the command center and talk to the Shadow Council. But even then, I'm like stop, pause, and who's in those tubes? Are they Snokes? And when they were revealed this time with the the eyes opening and scaring Grogu, that was great. It being clones of him, I thought that was really cool. And again, it shows his the pride he has, the evil in him, the focus on him. Not, because remember something we were wondering about after Bo-Katan's palace was bombed. We're like, wait, is that Thrawn? Is that Gideon? Is Gideon working for Thrawn? How does this all work? Well, it really got answered last week and this week that Gideon is not wanting to work for Thrawn. He doesn't even want to work for the Emperor. And I just thought that was really neat how Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni wrote that. And I thought that was a cool little twist there because we just didn't know. But what did you think about Gideon going off on his own plans here?
I mean, Gideon, he was the perfect Bond villain. Because what happens? You think you've got it won, and you spill your guts, and you end up losing. It was a play right out of a Bond movie. It's quite a devious plan to create a army of force wielding Gideons, to take over, to lead as your army to take over the galaxy, essentially. He really wants. Definitely got a lust for power.
Yeah.
That is unquenchable, and to the point to use Grogu, and obviously he pulled the midichlorians from Grogu to create these clones, force sensitive clones, force wielding clones. It is quite a achievement. It makes me wonder, of course, if this ties in, of course, to the sequels. Of course it does, because we know that Snoke was a force wielding clone. So we have seen the research come to fruition, which made Snoke possible, even though Gideon was kind of doing it on the side, trying to create his own army and not do what the Palpatine and his lackeys were wanting. And it's interesting I found it. It's the probably the biggest part I found the most fascinating of the episode, because it is quite an evil plan, deliciously evil.
Well, think about this. Now we see, at the end there, like when they're on Navarro and Moff Gideon says, "You have something I want." Now we really see why he wanted Grogu so much back in those initial episodes. And then he has Pershing. Now we see, in this season, Gideon having Elia Kane put the mind flayer up to whatever level to scramble Pershing planes, right? Yeah, so that his information really doesn't go to probably any of these people in the Shadow Council or to the Emperor. And then what you got me thinking about, as you were just mentioning your thoughts on it and how deliciously evil this is, you wonder if holy mackerel, if Gideon actually worked and these Imperial remnants on the Shadow Council actually work together, they continue to have Pershing's input. Does this look different in the Rise of Skywalker? Fortunately, apparently, like you said, the Emperor and the crew that he has there, not Pershing and not Gideon, they are able to have a Force sensitive clone in the form of Snoke, but maybe it's a different story if Gideon's on board and Pershing too. It really gets my brain going. That's fascinating. But again, at least the Force was with the good guys, and that didn't come to fruition. So, anyways, yeah, that's fascinating. As you and I just talked this one out right there.
Well, let me throw you this curveball. Chances of a Force sensitive Gideon showing up next season.
That's interesting, right? Because we know the whole base wasn't destroyed, right? And do any of those? They left themselves. Favreau and Filoni left themselves that option, and that is deliciously fun too. That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that, because I was wondering about that. I know they got blown out of the tubes by Din setting something and blowing the outside glass on them. But I that's there. That is definitely there. That thread is open if they want to use it.
It most certainly is.
Yeah,
it's a good way to bring back Giancarlo Esposito. So. Because he is such a charismatic individual and such a great voice for Star Wars. I hate to see him go after this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, his monologuing was just classic.
Oh.
Like James Bond villain and the secret layer of the Bond villain, and you got a monologue and tell everybody what you're doing. Finally, it's just so classic.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. He fits right in to the role, and I love the Gideon character, and I hope to even though Gideon is dead, maybe he's not. It's Star Wars. People live after getting cut in half and thrown down tunnels and thrown down pits in a space station that blows up. So
yeah, exactly.
It happens, man. It happens. Nobody's dead until you show up as a ghost in Star Wars.
Yeah. Even Han Solo, when he showed, you're like, dang it, he's dead. Because yeah.
You never know. He got stabbed with a lightsaber, tossed down a bottomless pit, and the space and Starkiller Base blew up.
Right.
He could come back.
I know.
He could come back.
Oh,
maybe like in Futurama with his head in a jar, but hey, he could come back.
I always felt like Harrison Ford's like, let me see the script. Okay, yes, I'm impaled with a lightsaber. I fall way down this shaft, and the planet, which is Starkiller Base, blows up. Okay, yes, that means I'm never coming back. Yes, I'm good with that.
Till he gets a phone call one day. Hey, we want to bring your character back.
Right. And here's how much money we've got. We do have multiple Brinks trucks this time, and we will back them up to your bank.
And we'll get you a new plane.
Yeah, get that too.
Oh, Lord. All right. So, of course, we have the huge ending of the episode with the ceremonies at the Living Waters.
Yeah.
With Ragnar taking the oath, and of course Grogu, then bringing Grogu and wanting him to take the oath. And I felt it was an interesting scene, because then the armorer's like, no, he's too young. He can't even talk. I half expect, honestly, when she, and I'm going to say this, when she first said that Grogu can't talk, he can't take the oath, I half expected Grogu to break out, talking I can do,
Yeah.
Words you don't understand, you will. I mean, just something random in Yoda talk, but he did it. He just babbled like he has been baby babble, and then of course this opened up the door for the adoption of Grogu by Din Djarin and the name change of Grogu to Din Grogu, which of course led to a happy family ending. Let's talk about the adoption. How did you feel about Grogu being adopted and his name change?
Well, I guess why in my brain did I already think he kind of had adopted him? I mean, the armorer had tasked him with finding his people, and Din was the Jedi, and then I don't know. I guess that's one where I'm like, well, that is his kid, isn't it? He already adopted him, right? And I guess maybe not formally in front of the living waters, in front of all the Mandalorians. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, I guess why did I think he was already one of? I guess I thought he was already kind of adopted per se. I guess Ragnar would be adopted by Paz, right? Paz visit, right? Okay.
Yeah.
For me overall, this issue of adoption, it clicks in something. I had texted you about in terms of something that I think. I don't know. I've seen it throughout the entire season. We can see it from Jon Favreau's history, his upbringing. He is Jewish and practicing, and so for me, the adoption is one of many examples of biblical undertones and overtones throughout this season. Aaron and I are people of faith, and when you are the thing one of the biggest things you're so thankful for is we're all adopted, right? We can talk about, well, no, I know my biological parents. Well, yeah, okay, whether you do or you don't, if you're adopted on this planet by humans, that's one thing. But the beauty of adoption, someone loving you, even if you're not flesh and blood. So it does speak to the found family thing that we've talked about in Star Wars for years and years. But I love that whole theme of adoption. The other ones I was going to mention, and I told Aaron I just wanted to bring them up, the bringing of the tribes together, the Mandalorian tribes. We see that throughout Jewish history. The 12 tribes, you can see, Favreau really pulling from that. Getting to the promised land, right? It really looks now like the title last week, The Spies, really was related to not so much Elia Kane, and maybe we thought, man, I thought the armorer was going to turn last week or this week. She didn't. So then it really does kind of clue me into that Bo-Katan, Din, Grogu, the other Mandalorians, they were the spies. They were the scouting party looking out at the promised land, just like we see in scripture. And of course, Mandalore being the promised land for the Mandalorians, another, biblical theme. And then, of course, when you see Grogu, I put it in the show notes here, quote unquote, saved. They're both saved from sure death. We see, Gideon burn up like Anakin on Mustafar, but worse, and but Grogu saves them, and like Aaron said, he teared up. It's such a powerful thing to see that when you're, there's something to say about it when your butt is in a sling, when you are in a bad way, and you have something or someone save you, step in and help you. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so that's why I loved that scene and how they did that. And kind of, again, going back to season 1, right? When the flame trooper comes into the, I think, what is it? The bar turned school on Navarro now. and he saves them back then. But I loved all those undertones and overtones, and then of course, like you said, buddy, Din adopting Grogu, and I'm like, yeah, of course, let's go do some new adventures, and as father and son, there's mentoring for you, right? Let me.
Hmm.
I'll be a parent. I'll adopt you. This is a good thing. I'm showing you to do this as well, and so yeah. So I don't know. What you have any thoughts on that and some of these tones and undertones and overtones and.
Well, I think you said it. You said it the best and said it well. It's there are a lot of those undertones, and we get that a lot through Star Wars, not just here in the Mandalorian, but throughout the saga as a whole. I do want to jump back to Din adopting Grogu, because personally I connected that to that one because my youngest came out of foster care and everything. So I had that personal connection with that particular decision and storyline, and it was relatable to me. You take the kid, you're raising the kid, and all of a sudden you have the opportunity. Let's make her mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it just definitely can relate. I mean, my youngest just got our last name a month ago, so it is quite a ride when you're able to make those type of differences in people's lives. And they've obviously, Grogu has made a difference in Din Djarin's life, and Din Djarin's making a difference in Grogu's life, just like anybody in an adoption situation has. And just like my youngest has made an impact in my life, and I've made an impact, I hope, in hers. So it's a very relatable thing to a lot of people today in real life. So
Nice.
all right, anything else you want to go over before we start wrapping things up?
No. I think we hit them there. I mean, there's a lot more to talk about. There always is. We could go into more depth on everything, but I liked what we covered.
All right. Very good. Very good. Well, then what we're going to do real quick is take one more break. And when we come back, we will do our final reactions. We will grade the episode. Then, of course, a psychology corner from David and a Star Wars dad joke of the week. So lots still to come. Hang with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We're wrapping up our talk, I should say, of The Mandalorian season finale. So let's go ahead and get things going. David, you want to kick us off with your final reactions?
Definitely. I will say this, I was thinking about what you said in the initial reactions and how this maybe would have flowed a lot better or appealed to you more if they had combined chapters 23 and 24. When you and I took a break, I went to Disney Plus on my phone and just looked at the length of last week's episode, 52 minutes. You take off, I don't know how many minutes of that, and in credits. This one I think is 41, and I think it ends up being like 30 to 35 minutes. And so when you said that, I absolutely agree, because when I saw this episode start, right where it left off, I'm like, man, this would be like an hour and a half movie, and it would be kind of more along the lines of what you said, like a big season 3 finale. But it really did feel like they did split it right there, and they start off kind of not as strong as where it ended. But if you put them together, I agree with you, buddy. I wanted to say that here in my final reactions, that I actually would prefer that too. Have 7 episodes, right, and put 23 and 24 together. So I think you really nailed that one. And but still, I thought this was incredible. It was fun. To me, it was just as good as last week's penultimate episode. Again, I do agree that it'd be better put together. Now, look, are there some nits that can be picked? Well, yes, I can list off several things that logically and story-wise, kind of again, you have to have the suspension of disbelief and stuff like that. But I can reel them off. But instead of doing that, I wanted to say this in terms of the lens that we view this episode through, and from the point of view of an adult. I can pick nits and still enjoy the heck out of it. You can. But if I look at this episode through the eyes of an 8, 9, 10-year-old, this is awesome, man. Mandalorians battling Gideon's troopers. I like Aaron's name better. Commandos. In fact, when I have the subtitles on, they're called commandos. I put troopers in all of our notes, but that Grogu having to battle Praetorian guards, Din versus Gideon in his super suit, Bo battling Gideon in his super suit, Axe Wolves flying and slash crashing an Imperial cruiser, which is on fire, into Gideon's base. That was super cool, awesome, right, as an 8, 9, 10-year-old. Gideon's clone, the one that opened its eyes and scaring Grogu, we mentioned a minute ago, Gideon monologuing like classic bad guys. And then ultimately, kind of getting that little glimpse, seeing the mythosaur one more time when I think Grogu might have had a little bit of a forced connection with it. All awesome. And, I think for me, I watched this episode with the same, 8-year-old eyes I had, seeing Star Wars for the first time in 1977. So, and I didn't put this in the show notes, Aaron, but when I think about that, and I think about the special effects when, in 76, of course, 77, when it comes out, compared to these 30 minutes of special effects, these blow away all of the special effects in episode 4. Man, if I was 8 and seeing this, holy macaroni, man, incredible. So those are just a few of my final reactions. Really enjoyed it. And I would encourage people to, if you rewatch it, just get in the mindset of an 8, 9, 10-year-old and just be in awe.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And, like I said earlier, and it's not, if not blatantly obvious through this episode, David and I had different experiences watching this episode. And that's why I love Star Wars. Everybody can have their own opinion. Everybody is going to have their own takes on things. Doesn't make anybody wrong and somebody else right, There's something for everybody. And there's going to be things you don't like, and there's going to be things I don't like, and that's just going to be the way it is. But that's what makes Star Wars fandom so awesome, is we can all get along, even though over a basic love of Star Wars, and not, even though we like different parts of it. So, I know a lot of people who love this episode, like David, and a lot of people and I know some who didn't, like me. But not everything is in the episode was bad. Now I'll give you that right off the bat. Not everything was bad. There, like I mentioned earlier, there were a few moments I liked, but overall, I got to tell you, I was left wanting. I was underwhelmed. It felt anticlimactic to me after chapter 23. Yeah, I heard this online, and I wholeheartedly agreed with the statement that was made, that somebody said that this felt like a season finale that you would make if you're not sure you're getting another season. Because you could walk away from the series and have everything tied up in a nice little bow, which is exactly what they've done. But I don't know. I was just, I'll admit it, even with the good stuff in there that I did like, overall for this episode, as a season finale, I was left disappointed. I was left disappointed. I hate to admit it, and it breaks my heart to say it. But I was, but there's always a future. There's always a future. So they can win me. They haven't lost me as a fan. I love it. I still love The Mandalorian, and I will probably still, when I go back and do my Mandalorian rewatch, I'll still be watching the season, but it could have been better. It just so could have been better. So, of course, as you know, we do grade our episodes that we review. Just like if you were in school and you get a grade, you get an A, B, C, D, or an F. So let's go ahead and grade this. This episode for me, as it is standalone by itself, for me, giving it a B plus is gracious. And I'm being gracious, giving it a B plus. How about you, David?
I'm biting my tongue on the other side here.
I know you are, brother.
For our listeners, just know that we still love Aaron. We will still love him. No, it is. You got to have your own opinions on things. I put an A plus. I don't do that lightly. I liked it just as much as last week's. And after considering again what you mentioned in the initial reactions, I'm like, whoa, yeah, these two together, yeah, maybe an A plus, but I thought they're just as good in terms of action, etc. There are nits to pick, but ultimately I just was sitting back and just really enjoyed this episode. All the action, all the fun, Grogu running around, trying to get away from Praetorian guards, and just, Darksabers and flying Mandalorians and Imperial cruisers blowing up. Yeah, A plus for me.
Very good. Very good. And of course, we want to hear from you and find out what you think of the finale of season 3 of The Mandalorian. You can, and of course, of the season as a whole as well. You can always hit us up on any of our social medias, Facebook and Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, Instagram, Instagram, Pinterest, sorry, and Tumblr, where you can find all of our show notes at SW Reactions, or of course, email us swreactions@gmail.com. So, David, why don't you take it away with your psychology corner?
Well, definitely. This whole season, we've done this before. We've had themes for seasons. For this season 3, we looked at how Mando mentors Grogu in each episode of season 3. Now, kind of going back to what Aaron mentioned a minute ago about the season overall, I agree with him. It kind of meandered. It went some different places, and I do agree with Aaron wholeheartedly. The season, it could have been better overall, season 3. That being the case, like 2 episodes ago, there was nothing mentoring wise. I had nothing, but last week and this week, quite a bit. Let me just go over the points again, the main bullet points I've tried to mention each episode, get those in people's minds, and then just kind of do an overarching kind of view, 10,000 foot view of the mentoring that occurred over the course of the season, and just wrap it up. So here are the points again of good mentoring. Mentoring that is focused on the mentee. Mentoring that provides feedback in a manner that is growth focused and non-punitive. Mentoring that conveys warmth and collegiality. Mentoring that embraces challenging conversations. It knows that tension, misunderstanding, and moments of conflict occur and navigates them. And 2 more bullet points. Mentoring that shows that the mentor has done internal reflection and models the right behaviors for the mentee. And mentoring that shows that the mentor never stops learning, just like the mentee. Now, just scanning back through show notes from the previous episodes, something that I think was kind of like a surprise to me, but just a pleasant one, was how much mentoring Grogu gets, not just from Din, but from Bo-Katan, from Paz Vizsla, when he hears Paz speaking by the fire a few episodes ago, the mentoring that Grogu gets from the armor. I thought that was beyond cool. So, what does this go to, Aaron? It goes back to it takes a village to raise a child. Well, here you go. And so we see all of these persons contributing to the growth of Grogu. Something that I think really also stuck out to me was not only that we got really good mentoring from several different key characters for Grogu, but I think maybe the out of all these points, these bullet points I just read, the one I felt was perhaps addressed the most was mentoring that embraces challenging conversations. It knows that tension, misunderstanding, and moments of conflict occur and navigates them. Heck, all the misunderstanding, the tension, the moments of conflict between the different Mandalorian groups, that's really shown throughout this season. And Grogu sees it, and he sees important people try to navigate it, deal with the tension, deal with the misunderstanding. And of course, we just mentioned it a few minutes ago. Here's Bo-Katan saying, we're stronger together, and Grogu and Din are just not just within a stone's throw of her as she's battling Gideon. So I thought, this was a fun endeavor. We can see, what we do in the next psychology corner. Maybe we won't do so much of a theme, but maybe just hit some different topics. If our listeners have anything they would like me to cover or kind of try to apply to some of these series, we can do that. We got Ahsoka coming up in August. We got Visions in May, but I don't know that it's really conducive to it. I guess it could. I mean, from the last Visions came a psychological analysis I did of Ronan, one of the main characters in one of the Visions shorts. So I don't know, maybe something like that could happen again. But I don't know. I'm excited for Ahsoka and to look at the psychology within those episodes. But for now, we'll put a wrap on mentoring in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Very good. Very good. And if somebody wants to ask you some questions about mentoring or talk about Star Wars in general, how would they go about doing that, David?
Yes, sir. 2 ways. The main one is Twitter at David_Modders, Modders. Yeah, hit me up there. The other one is Instagram, and that's just simply looking up my name, and you'll see me there. How about you?
Excellent. Well, the best way to get a hold of me is on Twitter at TAHarris121079. You can hit me up there anytime, any day, and we will get with you. We'll talk Star Wars. We'll have a good old time. So, well, that brings us to the end of the episode, David, and you know what that means.
Oh, we were doing so good.
I know. So, and I since we were doing, Mandalorian review, I got a Mandalorian joke, but I couldn't narrow it down. I got 2 here, and I can't decide which one I want to do. So we're going to do both.
Our listeners are so lucky.
They are. I mean, man, they're blessed beyond reason, I hope. So, so let's get this going. You ready, David?
I'm ready, my friend.
All right. What did one Mandalorian farmer say to the other?
Uh-oh. What did one Mandalorian farmer say to the other?
This is the hay.
Oh, my God. Brutal.
You ready for the second one?
Okay. Let's do this.
So, of course, Grogu is a baby, a 50-year-old baby, but he's a baby, and he doesn't speak. But eventually, he's going to start speaking. Do you know what his first words are going to be?
Oh, no. I do not know.
Spoken I have.
Oh, my. These are so, his dad jokes. Because he got it from Queel, right? Yeah.
Got it from Queel. Spoken I have. Oh, Lord, help us all. David, my friend, it's been a blast.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, we got through a really busy time in March and April here with 2 different Star Wars streaming shows, and we did it, man. We covered them, and hopefully people have enjoyed them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with us each week. Y'all are the best. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all, and wish y'all the best every day. Take care of yourselves. Do something nice for somebody this week. You know, I say it every week, but do it again. Do something nice for somebody else, and just make the world a better place. It will make a difference for you and for others. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.